Everyone says mass immigration is breaking Canada's housing market, bringing in 1 million new people a year when there's nowhere for them to live. It seems like an obvious problem, and it's not wrong, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. The story of how your rent doubled isn't just about population numbers. It's about how a flood of new people became the perfect cover for a system that was already designed to fail you. This crisis was manufactured over decades, and the people who caused it are counting on you to blame newcomers instead of the choices that made housing scarce and unaffordable. When housing hits a breaking point, governments can use the crisis to justify huge spending on vacant properties, developer subsidies, and programs that often help those who need it least. The crisis becomes a political shield. Money keeps flowing, accountability disappears, and public anger gets redirected elsewhere. Chapter 1: The Deliberate Shortage. Let's be clear, adding more people increases demand, but immigration isn't the cause of the crisis. It's a pressure multiplier. It's the force that exposed the deep cracks in our housing system. For when the crisis began, we'll have to go back to the 1990s, when the federal government walked away from building non-market housing, co-ops, and social housing. In the 70s, this made up 10 to 15% of all new construction. Today, non-market housing is only 3.5% of Canada's total stock, half the average of other developed nations. We dismantled the system that kept housing affordable. Then we made private construction far harder than it needed to be. In cities like Toronto and Vancouver, roughly 70% of residential land was reserved for single-family homes, effectively banning even basic duplexes. That restriction matters more than most people realize. And permitting delays made things worse, with approvals taking more than 249 days, about 3 times longer than in the US. We stopped building nonprofit housing and restricted private construction. The result is a structural shortage. Canada needs 3.5 million more homes by 2030 just to bring affordability back within reach. Chapter 2: The Financialization Machine. Then came the fuel, cheap money. Into a housing system already weakened by shortage and delay, low interest rates poured in like gasoline. Homes were no longer treated simply as shelter. They became assets, investments, and lines on a balance sheet. By the late 1990s, financial players, including real estate investment trusts, REITs, were moving into the rental market. The strategy was simple and ruthless: buy affordable apartment buildings, cut maintenance, push out long-term tenants, and raise the rent for whoever came next. Today, these firms control up to 30% of Canada's institutional-grade rental housing. Near-zero interest rates made the machine run faster. Massive loans became easier to get, speculation became easier to justify, and prices detached from reality. From 2000 to 2022, home prices more than tripled while median incomes failed to even double. At that point, housing prices were no longer based on what people could earn. They were based on what banks were willing to lend. Conclusion: the perfect scapegoat. So let's be honest about what happened. We dismantled social housing, choked off new construction with zoning and red tape, and let homes become investment products instead of places where people could build a life. For decades, we built a housing market like a dry forest. Families were already struggling. Renters were already being squeezed. Young people were already watching the dream of a home drift further away. The recent surge in population was not the fire itself. It was the spark that showed how much had already been left to burn. Blaming immigrants is easy because pain looks for a face. It gives people someone to point at when rent is due, when savings vanish, when an entire generation starts to wonder if stability is still possible. But that blame protects the people who made the decisions, the policymakers who walked away from social housing, the councils that blocked homes from being built, and the financial firms that turned scarcity into profit. Cutting immigration may cool the flames for a moment, but it will not end the drought. The people coming to Canada are not the root of the crisis. They are entering a housing system that was already strained, already underbuilt, and already tilted toward those who could profit from scarcity. Newcomers did not dismantle social housing. They did not write the zoning rules that blocked new homes. They did not turn apartments into investment vehicles. They arrived in a country that promised opportunity, only to find a market that had been allowed to break long before they got here. And as long as we keep blaming the people arriving at the door, we will keep protecting the people who locked that door in the first place. If you found this video informative, please leave a like. And if you want to see a deeper dive into this or any other topics you're interested in, please leave a comment down below and subscribe for more. Thank you.